Now in other news, let's talk about why James Corden is getting cancelled. In a segment called Spill Your Guts, celebrities must choose to either answer a difficult question about their life or eat what was previously described as disgusting or horrific food. Although according to James Corden, disgusting food was predominantly Asian cuisine. A petition was then started on change.org that wants to remove the Spill Your Guts segment for racism. In the description they said, during these segments he openly called these foods really disgusting and horrific. In the wake of the constant Asian hate crimes that have continually been occurring, not only is this segment incredibly culturally offensive and insensitive, but it also encourages anti-Asian racism. So many Asian Americans are consistently bullied and mocked for their native foods, and this segment amplifies and encourages it. So far as of writing this, the petition is at just over 45,000 signatures with a goal of 50,000. The organizer is also asking Corden to make a formal apology as well as donating funds to local Asian American organizations that are working to help Asian-owned restaurants and small businesses. They also mention just how influential and therefore harmful this messaging can be. They go on to add, the media holds so much influence. According to Wikipedia, The Late Late Show averages over 650,000 viewers per episode. That means 650,000 people are being influenced to think that native foods from Asian countries are disgusting or horrifying. Content like this continually perpetuates and encourages harm and racism against Asian Americans in our daily lives. Although all of that being said, the organizer wanted to point out the good work that Corden has done for the body positivity movement and said that he should not be cancelled for this. She added that we need to acknowledge the difference between cancellation and accountability.
James Corden just messed with the wrong fan base, and he is now getting cancelled because of it, along with the Google rating for his show plunging to 1.2 stars out of 5. I'm Mackenzie, and let's get into the details. Also make sure to subscribe if you're new here. If you didn't already know, K-pop group BTS has the most loyal fan base in the world, and they call themselves ARMY. And if you've been on Twitter for more than 5 minutes, I'm confident that you've seen a BTS fan cam at some point. So everyone in the industry knows not to say anything bad about BTS, or you will be sorry. That's been the case with the host of The Late Late Show, James Corden, after he mocked BTS's fan base. On the September 20th episode of his show, Corden made a point to speak about the group's attendance at the United Nations General Assembly that's currently taking place in New York City. The UN General Debate opened with a pre-recorded performance from the band, who then delivered a speech where they spoke about sustainable development, which is obviously a very high honor. But James Corden decided to mock their speech on his show, saying that the UN kicked off that morning and there was some quote, pretty unusual visitors, referring to BTS. Then he added that the UN had no choice but to take them seriously and complimented the group on having one of the largest fan bases in the world. But then he got in trouble when he added, quote, historic moment, it actually marks the first time that 15-year-old girls everywhere found themselves wishing that they were Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Basically mocking the fact that the group's fan base consists of teenage girls. But of course, the BTS fanbase did not take this lightly, and they shared their disappointment on Twitter. One tweet read, quote, as a teenage girl myself, I just want to take a moment to say, leave us alone. Stop using my gender and age as a way of mocking other people and what they do. Another user pointed out that in the wake of the comments, the Google ratings for Corden's talk show had dropped from 4.2 to 2.6, and obviously the ARMY is responsible. As of now, the show's rating has dropped even further, and it's currently sitting at 1.2. Although there were some fans that actually tried to defend Corden. This fan wrote a long notes app essay breaking down his comments and trying to give Corden the benefit of the doubt so the ARMY would stop attacking him, but the fans did not appreciate this and said that Corden should have done a better job at choosing his words wisely. The Twitter page for The Late Late Show has since taken down the video featuring the controversial comments, but obviously the ARMY had already screen recorded it, and taking down the clip is not going to stop the hate train. I did also want to note that this is not the first time the group has appeared at the UN, and in 2018 BTS visited the UN to help UNICEF promote Generation Unlimited, which is a campaign dedicated to educating young people. So even though Corden claimed it was unusual, it's actually not unusual for the group to use their influence for the good of the world, and that is why we stand. Do not come from me, BTS ARMY. I like them a lot.
Word on the street is James Corden is in line to replace Ellen DeGeneres because he is, quote, such a nice guy. But because this is the age of exposing celebrities on the internet, fans dug up a ton of dirt on James Corden and his past controversies, and well, yeah, he might actually be worse than Ellen DeGeneres, to be honest. What's gravy, fam? I'm Charlotte, this is IO. We've been serving you spicy trending news updates since 2012, so subscribe and turn on the bell so you're the first to know what's trending, and follow the IO team on social media. James Corden, I'm sure you know by now, hosts the wildly popular show Carpool Karaoke, where he invites celebrities to join him in a car that he doesn't actually drive. He also hosts The Late Show. He shot to fame in the UK when he was the writer and star of Gavin and Stacey and has become known as this big, cuddly teddy bear type guy, and everyone just loves his on-screen persona. But according to many who have met Corden either on set or in person, his nice guy persona is just an act, and he's actually a huge jerk in real life. Which is definitely an interesting plot twist considering he is rumored to be replacing Ellen DeGeneres, who was also exposed on the internet for being not so nice. Alright, so before I go any further, I have to let you guys know that just like the Ellen thread, these claims are not confirmed. The people who have shared their experiences with James Corden are internet users, so take these claims with a grain of salt, but honestly they're pretty crazy. Buckle up. Some of you might know by now that James Corden did a Reddit Ask Me Anything about a year ago with some of his colleagues from Carpool Karaoke. And well, his Ask Me Anything did not go well. And that's an understatement. It was a show. It was a total show. He was only able to answer 3 questions before he and his team left the conversation, as more than 700 comments roasted him to a crisp. He's not the only celebrity that has had their Ask Me Anything go wrong, but this particular instance was by far the most savage. The comments were bombarded with people who had met him, who called him all kinds of names. Now, James has actually denied this particular allegation I'm about to tell you, but according to someone who mentioned a Writers Guild of America meeting for late night writers, Corden apparently said that writers should be paid less so that he could afford to hire writing assistants. Remember that time James Corden showed up to a private WGA meeting to advocate for lower pay grades for late night writers? What was all that about? A producer then also backed up his claims on Twitter, where he said, "I'd like to state up once again for the record that I went to a WGA meeting for only late night writers, and James Corden showed up without any of his staffers to advocate for a lower pay grade for late night writers." Corden then said that this wasn't true on Twitter, saying that he actually wanted to give writers more opportunities and his intentions were twisted into something they weren't. But the wage he suggested was so low that it was not a living wage in Los Angeles. This kind of sounds like those entitled people who think that artists should be paid in exposures. However, that wasn't the only allegation in this Reddit Ask Me Anything. Here was the top comment. "Hey James, you won't remember me, but me and my friends sat at a table next to you and Harry Styles and some others in Manchurian Legends in London's Chinatown about 6 years ago. We didn't bother you, but you were a massively entitled who yelled and treated the waitstaff like and when one of my party politely suggested you calm down, you got really aggressive and threatening in a chubby way. Like a boozy panda. So my question is this, why did Harry seem so cool while you were such a massive throbbing bellend?" In the replies to the tweet where this top comment was shared on Twitter, people also came forward with other experiences meeting James Corden. Ugh, he's awful. He used to come into a restaurant I worked at in LA all the time and was incredibly rude. Pulled the "don't you know who I am" card and all that BS. I've waited on Harry before too, nicest guy, very sweet. Here's another account from the AMA. Half an hour into a New York to London flight, passengers in business class noticed a woman with a crying baby being brought through the curtains by a flight attendant. They looked on in mid-horror as they directed her into an empty seat next to James Corden. Expecting a huge celebrity hissy fit to kick off, Corden's cabin mates were impressed to see that he didn't say a word or make any sort of complaint. He simply put on a pair of noise-canceling headphones, put on an eye mask over his eyes, and turned away to sleep. Pretty decent of him, right? When the plane landed though, passengers were surprised to see Corden remain seated as the woman with the baby struggled to open the overhead locker. And even more surprised when she turned to Corden and said, "For F's sake, can you at least hold the baby while I get the bags down?" The woman was his wife, the baby was his baby. Oh man, that's horrible. That's horrible. Maybe he was tired? But you don't think your wife is tired? Sorry. With her newborn baby? I can't. Next post. Massive in person. I saw a League of Their Own filming live, threw multiple tantrums over minor things at the production staff, with him being incredibly rude to them, which made the other regulars seem very awkward, like it was usual. Between each take, the other celebs would be chatting amongst themselves, bantering about. James was glued to his phone. At the end of the filming, people got up to get pictures with James and he massively kicked off, shouting at people to go away and go back to their seats, and the few he did let have pictures with him, he was moody. Afterwards, he went into a VIP tent as such for beer. We were guests of people, anonymity for obvious reasons. And the celebs were going to be joining us. The other celebs came in and spoke with people. James came in for a brief moment. Someone asked politely for a quick picture. He abruptly said later, and then off to, I'm guessing, his changing room for the rest of the night, as they didn't get the picture before kickout time. Seeing him like that made me realize everything you see of his on TV is a complete persona, and really his natural personality is just a complete self-entitled. Alright, so listen, what about actual celebrities? James Corden meets a lot of celebrities, he is a celebrity. Are there any high profile people who have had bad experiences with Corden? Because again, these people are just social media users hiding behind their keyboards. Well, there is now an infamous encounter between Sir Patrick Stewart and James Corden at an award show.
I want to speak to James here.
Patrick Stewart does have a script in front of him, so it makes me wonder if this was planned. But as the award show goes on and the, fight continues, you can see James Corden getting visibly angry. In all fairness, Patrick Stewart fat-shamed him in front of a huge group of people, so probably anyone would be mad in that situation. Which is why James Corden then shamed Patrick for being old. Neither him nor Patrick walked away from the situation looking like the better person, to be honest. I will leave you with one last controversy of James Corden's. There was an instance when James Corden made jokes about Harvey Weinstein's sexual abuse scandal when he was hosting a charity gala. Corden then faced backlash on social media for the jokes, some arguing that sexual assault is no laughing matter. I think it was more his delivery that kind of put me off a bit. It just really didn't seem like he was, it didn't hit right. Didn't hit right. Especially in the few days after the whole Me Too scandal happened. Most of us were taking to social media to talk about some pretty traumatic experiences, and frankly joking about it was never and will never be funny. At the time, none other than Anthony Bourdain called Corden an a-hole and a pandering tool on Twitter. James Corden later clarified his remarks, saying that he was intending to shame Harvey Weinstein, not his victims. Anyways guys, do you think that James Corden should replace Ellen after hearing all this? Do you have any experiences with James Corden that you want to share in the comments? Let me know. For now, I'm gonna wrap up this video with some comment features. Your mom said, my cousins met a lot of artists backstage when working as a security agent. Lots of them didn't want to be spoken to. She said Snoop Dogg is extremely nice and friendly. What? Am I not surprised about that? He's probably baked all the time too. Entitled Potato said, at the end of the day, she's just like us peasants. Except social and famous. Even an entitled potato knows that. Oh, I really love your screen name a lot. A lot. NCM said, I have worked with celebrities and every time they would act as if I am below them, I would put them in their place. Not always by words, but more with body language or the tone of my voice, etc. Worked every time. Yeah, I feel like I would do that too. It's just, oh, I'm sorry. Can you not look at me in the eyes when you're talking to me? Yeah? Little snappy snap? I have a feeling they'd probably get me kicked out. I don't have the power to be around them yet, but I will. I'm coming for you.
Yo, it's the Beebs and Justin Corden. They're doing Carpool Karaoke.
That is so funny.
Hey Bieber.
Who is that?
Justin Bieber.
Oh my god.
And James Corden.
Ah, that's so great.
Carpool Karaoke is one of the most well-known, if not the most well-known late-night show shtick. Hosted by James Corden, we see musicians and celebrities going for a ride while singing along to some of their own tunes. Adele, Justin Bieber, Sia, and even Michelle Obama are just a few of the stars that Corden has been able to get on his show. And as fun as it is, I'd hate to break it to you, but we've all been lied to. And I'm about to spill all the tea. What's happening guys? Welcome back to IO. It's your boy Jared Bronstein, and before the tea starts spilling, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to never miss a video. If you guys have been wondering why I haven't been hosting as much, I'm on a new channel called Top 10 Central. Come hang out, it's a lot of fun, and we got a few other hosts y'all are gonna enjoy, so I'll see you there. And if you guys come to a video, drop a comment down below, be like, came from IO. As always guys, stick around to the very end because we got some comment replies, but for now we gotta get right into this one. So it was simply one tweet that set the Twittersphere on fire. I'm calling it the Twittersphere, just deal with it. A video of James Corden sitting in his Range Rover with Justin Bieber while it was being pulled by a tow. That's right, they don't actually drive while singing along to some of the star's biggest hits. More specifically, the car is put on a track with 8 wheels, and that track is attached to a tow that pulls the car while Corden and his guests are driving. Twitter user Zoli posted the video on January 22nd, and at the time of this recording, the video has been viewed over 12 million times. It's been retweeted over 100,000 times and has just under 500,000 likes. Naturally, this video going viral made people question if their entire life is a lie, and it most likely is. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Another Twitter user, Matthew Abels, replied to the viral tweet, claiming he once saw Katy Perry and Corden filming the segment and Corden was actually driving. He attached photos as proof. Now look guys, I'm not calling anyone a liar, but I'm just saying, like, how do we know James Corden and Katy Perry weren't just driving around LA? Like, they could be friends. I'm joking. Obviously they were recording, there's a camera on the hood of the car. They were definitely recording the segment, but that photo was taken back in 2017, so maybe things have changed over the last few years. You know, like increase in budget so he doesn't have to drive anymore. I don't know. CBS released a statement that read, I quote, "James always drives during Carpool Karaoke. However, on the rare occasion when there is a stunt component and the producers feel it is unsafe to drive, we will use a rig, tow," end quote. So it seems that everyone was kind of wrong here, guys. We all kind of got confused and lied to, I guess. I don't know. Corden actually drives. On some days, and then other days they get towed. Of course, James had to chime in on Twitter, and honestly, I think his response might have been the best response you could possibly give in this situation. Just a tweet of a photo of Corden and Samuel Jackson sitting on two chairs with a steering wheel prop in front of Corden and a blue screen behind both of them. The photo was captioned, "Guys, we don't even use a real car." So at least he found some humor in the situation. I think that response is perfect, so hats off to you, James. Atta B, buddy. Just being a big old goof. Now you guys gotta let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. Do you feel you've been lied to, or will you continue watching this segment? Or I guess both. Let me know below, and who your favorite guest on the show has been so far. Also let me know if you guys want to see me on that show, because I would love to sing.
Why is no one ready to forgive James Corden? As soon as he got banned from that New York City restaurant, the internet started celebrating. As a matter of fact, judging from the reactions on Twitter, you would be amazed at the sheer number of people that have been preying on his downfall. So what happened exactly? Well, on Monday, Keith McNally, the owner of a high-end New York City restaurant called Balthazar, made a viral Instagram post blasting James Corden for his horrible behavior towards his staff. He wrote, "James Corden is a hugely gifted comedian, but a tiny cretin of a man." He called him the worst customer to his service since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. He said, "I don't often 86 a customer, but today I 86'd Corden," which means that James was so awful in fact that he felt compelled to out him publicly, something that's almost never done by high-end restaurant owners. The owner details two incidents where he says James lost his cool to the point of absurdity. In one instance, he demanded 2 free rounds of drinks for him and his friends after he presented a hair that was found on his food. He apparently said, "Get us another round of drinks this second, and also take care of all our drinks so far. This way I don't write any nasty reviews on Yelp or anything like that." On a separate occasion, James went even crazier on employees. He is said to have flipped out when an egg yolk omelette his wife had ordered was found to have a little egg white in it. McNally said James yelled at the staff who remade it, but then mistakenly sent it back out with fries instead of a salad like his wife had initially asked. This is what allegedly caused him to go ballistic, and he started tearing into the waiter, saying that she couldn't do her job. Then he said, "Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelette myself." In the end, the server was extremely shaken after having to deal with his barrage of insults. Not only that, but McNally claims that James acted similarly at another restaurant that he has in the city. So that's why he was banned. But we now know that only lasted 24 hours because he ended up calling McNally and apologizing profusely. Although the restaurant owner might have forgiven him, the internet is not ready to let this go yet. In fact, people have already started comparing him to Ellen DeGeneres, who was exposed by 10 of her former employees for being a bully and creating a toxic work environment. So it's possible that James Corden is set to suffer a similar fate. Already another video has resurfaced online showing the awkward moment when he was asked to name members of his own TV crew and he just couldn't do it. In the video from 2016, Jimmy Kimmel appeared on The Late Show for a game called Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, a truth or dare game that gives guests the option of eating disgusting foods or answering personal questions. He then tells James, "Name 2 of the cameramen in this room." He started laughing because it was obvious that he didn't know. Then he just said, "That is a great question. It's a different crew tonight actually." In the end, he had to drink a fish smoothie because he couldn't name the crew members. Then 1 year later, during a Q&A segment with his audience, one crowd member asked him to name a cameraman and he failed once again. But when he got banned from Ryanair, Twitter had a field day. So many people praised the airline for its decision, while laughing at the fact that a Hollywood celebrity got banned from a budget airline. There's even a meme that went viral of Dakota Johnson looking excited with the caption, "Watching the long-awaited downfall of James Corden." One user wrote, "All these stories about James Corden being a horrible person resurfacing is insane because this was the same man whining about being called names on Twitter. To the tannies with a running streak of actively terrorizing minimum wage workers." Another tweet said, "I don't need James Corden banned from Balthazar, I need him banned from movie musicals." Someone else wrote, "A reminder that James Corden is an utter prick, an unfunny bellend of a man. There's a reason he's hated in the UK. Here he is being a Patrick Stewart, who called him out for being unprofessional. Former TMZ journalist Morgan Tremaine said that James Corden is a prime example of fame obliterating someone's sense of basic decency towards other people, which is unfortunately all too common. Maybe what happened to James is just another case of genuine success turned into classic Hollywood entitlement. James Corden has officially hosted the final episode of The Late Late Show. He explained that he's stepping down from his role for family reasons, although some have since suggested that it is a lot more to do with his reputation. As we know, in recent years, more and more people have come forward to expose him as something of a bully. So in this video, we're going to be counting down the top 10 celebrities speaking out against James Corden. Number 10, Britney Spears. After appearing on Carpool Karaoke with James Corden, Britney confessed that it was not as fun as it seemed. In fact, she claimed that it was extremely awkward. Apparently, James was being manipulative towards her because she specifically asked him not to play Hit Me Baby One More Time, which he ended up doing multiple times. He even wore a costume that was exactly like the one from the music video. Of course, Britney did her best to play along, but it turns out that she was a little uncomfortable with everything that was happening in the car. While speaking to a radio station about the experience, she said, "It was a little awkward, like driving by grocery stores. People walk by and there are like 18 cameras around us. This is just so awkward." Carpool Karaoke was one of the most popular segments of the show, but James ended up getting a lot of backlash when people found out that he wasn't actually driving. In January of 2020, one fan spotted him filming an episode with Justin Bieber, and he posted the video to Twitter. Rather than being on the road, James's black SUV was being towed by a tow truck and he was pretending to drive it. This called the whole show into question. The fact that it might have been staged made it seem artificial, and it took a lot of the fun out of it. Number 9, Patrick Stewart. A clip from the 2010 Glamour Awards has resurfaced recently, and it shows Patrick Stewart obliterating James Corden on stage. It's the definition of public humiliation. The two of them were presenting an award together when Stewart suddenly decided to call him out for his disinterested attitude towards the ceremony. He said, "When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here." At that moment, James was super caught off guard, and so was everyone else in the audience. He was obviously embarrassed, and so he shot back with a remark. He said, "If I looked like that, I'm so sorry, but when you come up and present an award, just effing get on with it." Both of them should have moved on from there, but it somehow got even cringier when Stewart decided to make fun of Corden's weight. He said, "From where I was sitting, I can see your belly, and that was over there at the back of the room." The spat continued back and forth for a few minutes, but it was just so uncomfortable to watch, it felt more like hours. Number 8, Bill Maher. This late night feud started in 2019 when Bill used a segment of his show to discuss high obesity rates in the US. He felt that the solution was to bring back fat shaming because in his opinion, shame is the first step in reform. A few days later, James hit back at his remarks on The Late Late Show. He said, "So I was sat at home and I'm watching this and all I could think of was like, oh man, someone needs to say something about this. If only there was someone with a platform who knew what it was actually like to be overweight. And then I realized, oh, that will be me." James reminded him that fat shaming was still alive and well and said there's a common and insulting misconception that fat people are stupid and lazy, and they're not. After being called out, Bill went on the Joe Rogan podcast and doubled down on his comments about obesity being a health issue. He said, "You can't keep eating as much as you want and as much stuff as you want and expect us to cover the bill." He also felt that James had missed a great opportunity to literally save lives, and said that he took the easy way out by criticizing him instead of talking about solutions. Number 7, Ricky Gervais. On the surface, these two comedians have a lot in common. They both became famous on British TV shows in the 2000s before jumping to movies, and eventually making their way to Hollywood. But instead of friendship, they actually had something that was closer to a nasty rivalry. This started when James played Ricky in a comedy sketch. In the years since, Ricky has publicly teased and criticized him on multiple occasions, at almost every opportunity. For example, after he bombed with the Weinstein jokes at a charity gala, Ricky went on Radio Andy and claimed that his jokes fell flat because he didn't do it well enough. Basically saying, if you're going to be offensive, you have to at least be funny. Then at the 2020 Golden Globes, Ricky slammed his appearance in the movie musical Cats, which is more than fair considering that it completely bombed at the box office. Most people found the CGI human cats a little sickening to look at, so it's no surprise that it performed so badly. In fact, critics have long accused James Corden of ruining every movie that he gets involved in. This list includes some major flops, like 2021's Cinderella, Lesbian Vampire Slayer, cosplayers and the Emoji Movie. He also came under fire for exploiting gay stereotypes with his character in The Prom, so he might need to consider taking a break from acting as well. Number 6. Mel B. The Spice Girls singer labeled James Corden as one of the biggest D-heads in show business. She went on the Big Nasty show and was asked about the rudest celebrity that she's ever met. In response, she came up with a short list that included the host of The Late Late Show. Mel explained that the older she gets, the less tolerance she has for annoying people. She was then asked why she specifically named James Corden. She said, "I think you always have to be nice to the people that you work with, whether it be production, camera guys, sound, lighting, we all work for the same thing. So you should always be nice, and he hasn't been very nice." Around the time of this interview, other videos started circulating online. One of them was a video from 2016 when Jimmy Kimmel asked James to name 2 of the cameramen in the room. In response, he just starts laughing because it was obvious that he couldn't do it. The whole thing was pretty awkward to watch. But the craziest part is that it happened again 1 year later. During a Q&A segment with his audience, one of the crowd members asked James if he could once again name a cameraman, and he failed. Number 5. Keith McNally. Back in October, the owner of a high-end New York City restaurant called Balthazar made a viral Instagram post blasting James Corden for his horrible behavior towards staff. He called him a tiny cretin of a man and the worst customer to his servers since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. He claimed that in one instance, James demanded 2 free rounds of drinks for him and his friends after he presented a hair that was supposedly found on his food. He said, "Get us another round of drinks this second. Also, take care of all our drinks so far. This way I won't write any nasty reviews on Yelp." So he basically threatened to ruin the restaurant's reputation with his fame and influence. On another occasion, he is said to have flipped out when an egg yolk omelette that his wife had ordered was found to have a little egg white in it. He allegedly went ballistic. According to the owner, James was so awful that he felt compelled to out him publicly and ban him from the restaurant, something that is very rarely done in high-end establishments. Amidst a growing controversy, James eventually addressed the incident on The Late Late Show, but he never fully took responsibility for his behavior. Number 4. Rose McGowan. In 2017, during the dawn of the Me Too movement, James made a series of tasteless jokes about a certain disgraced film producer and notorious Hollywood creep. While presenting at a gala charity event, he brought up the scandal that had just come out that very same week. He said, "Tonight is such a beautiful night in LA. So beautiful, Harvey has already asked to night up to his hotel to give him a massage." At this point, you could already hear the loud groans from the audience, but James just kept on going. He said, "It has been a weird week this week, hasn't it? Watching Harvey in hot water? Ask any of the women who watched him take a bath." By the time James was finished with the joke, it was pretty clear that he failed to read the room. It was just way too early to be making fun of something like that. And 2 of the women who accused Harvey ended up calling him out on Twitter. Actress Asia Argentino wrote, "Shame on this pig and everyone who grunted with him." And Rose McGowan also came through with a similar criticism. It wasn't exactly subtle either. She called James a mother effing piglet, and he later apologized on Twitter, claiming that he was not trying to make light of the situation, but it didn't really win him back any fans. Number 3. Jack Allison. The TV writer who wrote for Jimmy Kimmel Live in the 2010s is also a member of the Writers Guild of America. In 2019, he told a shocking story on Twitter about the time that he went to a union meeting that James Corden was also attending. He wrote, "I'd like to state once again for the record that I went to a WGA meeting for only late night writers, and James Corden showed up without any of his staffers to advocate for a lower pay grade for late night writers." Jack explained that he was trying to frame it positively, like we want to give writers' assistants a chance, so maybe there should be a lower pay grade for them. But once he read the allegations, James fired back on Twitter. He pretty much denied everything that was said about him and wrote, "I would never ever want to pay a writer less than they deserve. Never. I love every writer on my show, and all I ever wanted from that meeting was to explore whether talented people could get a better opportunity." In response, Jack Allison doubled down and claimed that what he said was accurate. As if that wasn't bad enough, James was later accused of being extremely rude to production staff while filming a game show called A League of Their Own. Number 2. Pierce Brosnan. While hosting The Late Late Show, James played Spill Your Guts or Feel Your Guts with Khloe Kardashian. He was asked to name a celebrity who was rude to him, and after a lot of hesitation, he finally admitted to having a not so pleasant run-in with Pierce Brosnan. The story goes that he was at a U2 concert with his wife and some friends. His group was seated next to Brosnan and his party, who left in the middle of the show. They had a pretty good spot near the runway where Bono would often be seen. At this point, James didn't think that Pierce would be back anytime soon, so he and his wife decided to move into that area closer to the stage. But he felt an arm grab his shoulder and aggressively push him out of the way. Apparently apparently the actor didn't acknowledge the interaction at all and just went back to enjoying the concert. When he finished telling the story, Chloe suggested that perhaps he was drunk, to which James responded by saying, well, maybe he's just a bit effing rude. That moment was definitely an interesting one because James rarely names and shames people on TV, but it's possible that this interaction upset him so much that he didn't mind putting the actor on blast. Either way, that's one guest he won't ever be getting on his show. And coming in at number 1, exposed on Reddit. In 2019, James wanted to surprise fans by making an appearance on Reddit's infamous Ask Me Anything thread, all to promote a special edition of his show. But the plan massively backfired when people started flooding the thread talking about all the horrible experiences that they've had meeting him in real life. In the end, James was only able to answer 3 questions before he dipped, probably because the truth was coming out about him and he was getting brutally roasted. One viral post said, "Hey James, you won't remember me, but me and my friends sat at a table next to you and Harry Styles, plus some others in Manchurian Legends in London's Chinatown about 6 years ago. We didn't bother you, but you were a massively entitled C-word who yelled and treated the waitstaff like crap. And when one of my party politely suggested you calm down, you got really aggressive and threatening." Now, if you thought that was bad, there was also another viral Reddit post made by a person who was traveling with James Corden on a London flight. Apparently, the entire plane witnessed his wife struggling to take care of their baby while James was sound asleep in the seat right next to her. In fact, he was so uninvolved that for a long time, people didn't even realize that they were together. To some people, James Corden is like a persistent rash. He gets under your skin and refuses to go away. He used to have a solid reputation as a lovable Brit, but in recent years, more and more people have started to expose him as an egomaniac and a bully. He was recently banned from a New York City restaurant for verbally attacking the waitstaff, and judging from the reactions on Twitter, people have been preying on his downfall for quite some time. In fact, he's already been called the Ellen DeGeneres of late night TV. So why do people seem to hate him so much? Let's get into it. Here are the top 10 James Corden red flags that we should have noticed. Number 10, bad at comedy. A wise person on Twitter said, "James Corden might be a lot of things, but I draw the line at him being labeled a comedian. Aside from the fact that he's just straight up not funny, he seems to have an awful habit of failing to read the room and noticing when his poor jokes fall flat." Fans remember when he completely bombed at an AIDS research benefit gig in LA in 2017. In an effort to appear edgy, he brought up the Weinstein scandal that had just come out that very same week. In videos of the event, James said that it was a beautiful night in LA. So beautiful, Harvey has already asked tonight up to his hotel to give him a massage. He ignores the loud groans from the audience and then says, "It has been weird this week, hasn't it? Watching Harvey in hot water. Ask any of the women who watched him take a bath." The backlash against him was huge, and rightfully so. If you're going to make offensive jokes, you have to at least be funny. Number 9, ruining movies. James Corden's acting career started out well enough, but things went downhill fast as his fame grew. It's well known that he pretty much accepts every work offer that comes his way without much consideration, resulting in multiple flops. These included some truly awful movies like Cinderella, Lesbian Vampire Slayers, and The Emoji Movie. He also came under fire for exploiting gay stereotypes with his character in The Prom. But his most cringeworthy performance ever was in the movie Cats, where he played a creepy humanoid cat called Bustopher Jones. The CGI human cats were literally sickening to look at and have been the subject of my nightmares for too long. The movie was a critically savaged box office disaster. Despite James saying that he didn't regret his involvement, he later admitted that he would never ever watch the film himself. In fact, people are so sick of seeing him on the big screen and ruining every musical he touches that there is now a viral petition to keep James Corden out of the new Wicked movie. So far, it has more than 100,000 signatures. Number 8, rude to waiters. On Monday, the owner of a high-end New York City restaurant called Balthazar made a viral Instagram post blasting James Corden for his horrible behavior towards staff. He called him a tiny cretin of a man and the worst customer to his servers since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. He claimed that in one instance, James demanded 2 free rounds of drinks for him and his friends after he presented a hair that was found on his food and said, "Get us another round of drinks this second. And also take care of all our drinks so far. This way I won't write any nasty reviews on Yelp." On another occasion, he is said to have flipped out when an egg yolk omelette his wife ordered was found to have very little egg white in it. He allegedly went ballistic and started tearing into the waiter, saying, "Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelette myself." According to the owner, James was so awful that he felt compelled to out him publicly and ban him from the restaurant, something that is very rarely done in high-end establishments. Number 7, fight with Patrick Stewart. A clip from the 2010 Glamour Awards resurfaced recently where Patrick Stewart obliterates James Corden on stage, and it's it's the definition of public humiliation. They were presenting an award together when Stewart suddenly decided to call him out for his disinterested attitude towards the ceremony. He said, "When the presenters are up here and when the recipients are receiving their awards, don't stand at the back of the stage with your hands in your pockets, looking around as though you wished you were anywhere but here." Corden was super caught off guard at first, and so was everyone else in the audience. He was obviously embarrassed and shot back with, "If I look like that, I'm sorry, but when you come up and present an award, just effing get on with it." Both of them should have moved on from there, but it somehow got even cringier when Stewart decided to make fun of Corden's weight. He said, "From where I was sitting, I can see your belly," and that was over at the back of the room. But I continued back and forth for a few minutes, but it was so uncomfortable to watch, it felt more like hours. Loving this video so far? Please hit that like button, it would really help us out. Number 6, exposed on Reddit. In 2019, James wanted to surprise fans by making an appearance on Reddit's infamous Ask Me Anything thread to promote a special edition of the show. But the plan massively backfired when users started flooding the thread talking about the horrible experiences they've had meeting him in real life. In the end, James was only able to answer 3 questions before he dipped. Probably because the truth was coming out about him and he was getting brutally roasted. One viral post said, "Hey James, you won't remember me, but me and my friends sat at a table next to you and Harry Styles, and some others in Manchurian Legends in London's Chinatown about 6 years ago. We didn't bother you, but you were a massively entitled C-word who yelled and treated the waitstaff like crap, and when one of my party politely suggested that you calm down, you got really aggressive and threatening. So my question is, why did Harry seem so cool while you were a massive throbbing bellend?" Number 5, flight incident. This one absolutely boils my blood. We're going to talk about the infamous Reddit post that horrified the internet. Half an hour into a New York to London flight, passengers in business class noticed a woman with a crying baby being brought through the curtains by a flight attendant. They looked on in mild horror as they saw the attendant direct her into an empty seat next to James Corden. They were expecting him to throw a fit, but instead he simply put on a pair of noise-cancelling headphones, pulled an eye mask over his eyes, and turned away from her to sleep. Pretty decent of him, right? When the plane landed, passengers were surprised to see him remain seated as the woman with the baby struggled to open the overhead locker, and even more surprised when she turned to him and said, "For F's sake, can you at least hold the baby while I get the bags?" The woman was his wife. The baby was his baby. That's the father of the year right there. Number 4, fake persona. While Corden's public image is of a lovable Brit, his behavior in private has been described by some as less than desirable, and that is an understatement. For many people, the nice guy public persona has worn thin, and there are too many cases where the mask has slipped, revealing a more arrogant and spiteful side to him. Corden increasingly gained a reputation, all for behaving badly towards the people who work for him and with him. One allegation by comedian and podcaster Jack Allison was that he attended a Writers Guild Association meeting specifically to advocate for lowering the pay of his late-night writers. How disgusting is that? He was also allegedly extremely rude to production assistants and staff while filming the UK game show A League of Their Own. To sum it all up, the editor-in-chief of Hard Drive magazine, Jeremy Kalpowitz, tweeted, "James Corden is the most worked with the robots to betray the humans and get put back into the Matrix as a famous actor person who has ever existed." Number 3, pretend driving. Carpool Karaoke was one of the most popular segments on The Late Show, but on the 2nd of January in 2020, fans spotted Corden filming a new episode with Justin Bieber and shared the video to Twitter. Rather than being on the road, the black SUV was being towed by a tow truck, and Corden was pretending to drive it. The viral video led to mass outrage on social media, with many people criticizing the host for being deceptive and labeling him as an outright phony. He really had no choice but to address the scandal and said, "Fake news, I always drive the car, unless we're doing something where we think it might not be safe." He did admit that the car had been towed on rare occasions, but maintained that 95% of the time he was driving it. The thing is that a lot of people tuned into his show only for Carpool Karaoke, so the fact that it was staged made the episodes feel artificial and took a lot of the fun out of it. Number 2, doesn't know his own crew. Amidst the growing controversy, other videos exposing James Corden have resurfaced online, and one shows the awkward moment when he was asked to name members of his own TV crew, and he couldn't do it. In the video from 2016, Jimmy Kimmel appeared on The Late Show for a game called Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts, a truth or dare game that gives guests the option of eating disgusting foods or answering personal questions. He then tells James, "Name 2 of the cameramen in this room." He started laughing because it was obvious that he didn't know. Then he just said, "That is a great question. It's a different crew tonight actually." In the end, he had to drink a fish smoothie because he couldn't name the crew members. Then, if you think that was a coincidence, 1 year later, during a Q&A segment with his audience, one crowd member asked him to name a camera cameraman and he failed once again. I mean, this is far from the worst thing that he's ever done, but it does go to show you that he doesn't really care about the people that work underneath him. And coming in at number 1, universally disliked. If you want to know how the majority of people really feel about James Corden, just spend 5 minutes on Twitter. When Ryanair announced on Twitter that they had also banned James from flying with them, the reactions were hilarious. So many memes flooded the platform of people claiming that he had been banned from other random places like the Glee Club or Fortnite. A meme even went viral of Dakota Johnson looking excited, with the caption, "Watching the long-awaited downfall of James Corden." One user wrote, "I don't need James Corden banned from Balthazar, I need him banned from movie musicals." Someone else tweeted, "A reminder that James Corden is an utter prick, an unfunny bellend of a man. There's a reason he's hated in the UK. Here he is being a wanker to Patrick Stewart, who called him out for being unprofessional." Former TMZ journalist Morgan Tremaine said that James Corden is a prime example of fame obliterating someone's sense of basic decency towards other people. Someone even called him the late night version of Ellen, so it's a wonder that he has any fans left at all.
Recently, James Corden faced a ton of backlash for mocking BTS, and this isn't even the first time though that James has garnered hatred for his actions. That's why today we're going to be breaking down the top 10 worst James Corden moments. But first, if you could do us a big favor and please tap that like button, we'd really appreciate it. And with that out of the way, let's begin. Coming number 10, fake driving. Once transitioning from comedic actor to late night host, James had to come up with some new games that would keep his audience interested. The whole idea behind Carpool Karaoke was that James and a special celebrity guest were going to sing while driving. It's a simple concept, but something that is at the very least relatable to most audiences, other than having a giant celebrity in your passenger seat, that is. Well, it turns out that the whole thing is a sham and a cheap way to trick their own audience. A tweet went viral showing that James Corden doesn't actually drive the vehicle during the show, but rather has it being pulled around on a trailer. In at number 9, early fame. James Corden revealed that he had to have therapy to stop being a brat after he became intoxicated by fame. Even as Gavin and Stacey co-star Rob Brydon had to step in and tell him off for his rude behavior while on set. Rob recalled saying, "Look, this is a bit awkward to say, but I'm just hearing these things about you and you've got to know that the way you behave has an effect on people." Corden's sisters also intervened according to his mother, and they would come in and say to James, "Don't be a d***head," which is bizarre because the whole reason he wrote this show for himself really is because he was sick and tired of people being rude to him about his own weight. In number 8, against his writers. When James Corden decided to do an Ask Me Anything on Reddit, it could not have backfired any worse. One of his producers named Jack Allison had made a tweet in regards to how poorly James had treated his writing staff, which was included in the litany of complaints made against the host. Jack tweeted, "I'd like to state once again for the record that I went to a WGA meeting for only late night writers, and James Corden showed up without any of his staffers to advocate for a lower pay grade for late night writers." Now, James tried to refute his points, but honestly his Twitter replies aren't even worth sharing. He basically called his own producer a liar and stated that he cared about his writers while simultaneously arguing for lower pay at the Writers Guild of America meeting. In at number 7, Fight Club. Even though James Corden had an excellent opportunity to chat with Edward Norton, he ruined that chance by trying to do some weak comedic version of Fight Club, using his own writing staff. Right from the start you can tell that Ed doesn't want any part of this, and why would he? Fight Club was a great film, but it's one of the many that the actor had been a part of. Plus he was just really there to try to promote a new movie, so why waste time on something like this? Although James still isn't getting it until Norton tells him that there are better ways of expressing masculinity. All the guy wanted to do was talk about his film Motherless Brooklyn, which he not only starred in but also directed and wrote, but no, James just wanted a stupid Fight Club parody sketch. In at number 6, unrelatable. James Corden decided it was his duty to stand up for every overweight person in the world and defending their right to eat when Bill Maher said that we should bring back fat shaming. Judging by the way Corden responded to this clip, you would think that Bill called him out specifically. He didn't know. James is just that easily offended and has a bigger platform to cry on. The point Bill was trying to make was a comedic one that just missed the mark, but he was emphasizing that America needed to bring back shame. James tried to make this his champion moment of being the king of all that is good in this world, but started to lose people when he continuously made it about himself. He kept saying, "This hurt me because I wanted to be in movie roles but was too out of shape." His remarks hurt me because I was never accepted by society, but there he is sitting behind a late night show desk, no problem. Also, in my humble opinion, if he didn't feel some shame about the way that he looked, James would have never been motivated enough to try to create his own show, Gavin and Stacey, which, as I mentioned earlier, was the basis for that show. He's trying too hard to be a fake idol by making his audience believe that he's offended by remarks that really had nothing to do with him. In number 5, distracted hosting. While hosting the Glamour Woman of the Year awards, James got himself into a now infamous argument with Patrick Stewart. Apparently while hosting he looked completely disinterested and many felt that he gave off an attitude like he was better than the event. Plus Plus, while recipients were accepting their awards, there was James just standing off to the side texting during a live award show. So when Patrick Stewart came on stage, he decided to confront James over his rude behavior, but because some people hadn't noticed what James was doing, Patrick seemed to be the rude one in this interaction. Although in retrospect, he was a hero ahead of his time. Take a look at this awkward exchange and keep in mind that this was 10 years ago.
Go on. No, seriously, go on.
Okay.
No, go on. You can see my belly, and we can all see you dying right now. Let's go for it. Here we go.
Patrick was simply trying to tell James not to text while people are accepting their awards, and instead of apologizing, he got in Patrick Stewart's face. Like, what was he gonna do? Fight him? Because he asked you to have some common sense? This was a strange one for sure. In number 4, political wedding. While filming a segment on his show called Fill Your Guts, James was asked a very specific question about what happened when he saw Ivanka Trump at a wedding. James admitted that he was very drunk and continuously harassed the president's daughter at this wedding. He repeatedly told her that she needs to do something, which isn't exactly the place nor the time. Plus, who does James Corden think he is? He wasn't born in America. He came there to make more money, so why does he feel the entitlement to trash the country that accepted him? Plus, harassing the president's daughter while at a wedding is perhaps the biggest indicator that James has no self-awareness. In number 3, shameful behavior. Right around the same time that people like Rose McGowan and other accusers started stepping up and calling out Harvey Weinstein, James thought it would be fun to just joke about it. Due to James Corden being a comedic actor and not a stand-up comedian, his jokes had absolutely no legs or timing. As a result, the audience mostly groaned uncomfortably about the extremely graphic and too soon material that was clearly not well suited for a charity event. After the immense backlash, James tweeted, "To be clear, SA is no laughing matter. I was not trying to make light of Harvey's inexcusable behavior," adding, "But to shame him, the abusers, not his victims. I am truly sorry for anyone offended. That was never my intention." Oh, so now shaming is okay just as long as it's not happening to you. Got it. The Italian actor Asia Argento, who alleges that Weinstein SA'd her when she was only 21, tweeted a video of Corden's joke and added the caption, "Shame on this pig and everyone who grunted with him." In number 2, hates his fans. Going back to that disastrous Reddit Ask Me Anything post that he made, we had countless people who were once fans of James claiming negative interactions with the host. One Redditor mentioned the time they saw Corden filming the UK game show A League of Their Own, and while other stars were polite and engaged with fans, Corden couldn't have cared less. It's a bit of a long post, so I'll just point out of the most egregious examples. The Redditor writes, "James came in for a brief moment, someone asked politely for a quick picture, he abruptly said later, and then left to his changing room for the rest of the night. Then they closed it off by saying, seeing him like that made me realize everything you see of his on TV is a complete persona, and really his natural personality is just a complete self-entitled," and that's a word that I'm not allowed to say, but you get the point. It was the C word. Last but certainly not least on our number 1 spot, Happy Mother's Day. Then there was this crazy airplane story involving a woman and a baby. There's for sure no way to verify whether or not the story is true, but it does seem pretty much in line with what others have said about the late night show host. Apparently a woman with her crying baby was sitting next to James Corden on a flight, but to many people's surprise, James didn't complain at all. He simply put on his noise cancelling headphones and pulled a mask over his eyes, then turned away from the woman to sleep. However, when the plane landed, Corden remained in his seat as the woman with the baby struggled to open her overhead compartment. What makes this story even worse is that the woman then turned to James and asked him to at least hold the baby while she was getting the bags down. That woman was his wife, and that baby was his baby. Again, just rumors, just rumors. Either way guys, that's been today's top 10, but before we get out of here, I'm going to check out some of your comments from the video titled Kourtney Kardashian Dumps BFF Addison Rae for Megan Fox. Kate Noel says, seems like Kourtney was probably just friends with Addison because her kids wanted to meet Addison. That makes the most sense. G Flores says, LOL, those Kardashians don't chase, they replace. Very true, very true. That seems like their motto nowadays. Baby J Got Back says, this is why I said I'd never be friends with any of them, no matter how rich they are. They don't have friends, they have yes men, and the minute you don't do as they say, they replace you. Again, very true, Jay, very true. Don't be friends with the Kardashians, they're just gonna replace you. Christina Morales says, I'd be honored to be getting replaced with Megan Fox. It is a pretty honorable replacement. We gotta give her some credit there. India Shante says, I mean, Kourtney and Megan are closer in age and have kids, so they probably have a lot more in common. Very true, very true.
Why are people calling James Corden the male Ellen? Just look at his latest interview. What was meant to be a simple promotional interview with the New York Times last week showed people that James Corden is just another entitled celebrity who is simply not sorry for his abhorrent behavior towards people in the service industry. When asked about why he was banned from the New York City restaurant, Corden got upset and said said, "I haven't done anything wrong on any level, so why would I ever cancel this interview? I was there, I get it. I feel so zen about the whole thing, because I think it's so silly. I just think it's beneath all of us. It's beneath you, it's certainly beneath your publication." So to sum it up, Corden does not deny the horrible way that he treated the waitstaff. Instead, he tried to justify it. Quote, "It happens every day. It's happening in 55,000 restaurants as we speak. It's always about eggs." He's essentially saying, yes, I screamed at a waitress because she didn't bring me my correct order for the first time. Not only that, but he's insinuating that it's fine because everyone does it, and it's pretty much unavoidable when you go into a restaurant. Maybe a lot of people do feel comfortable verbally attacking those in the service industry, but if you look at the waiter rule, which says that the easiest judge of someone's character is how they treat waitstaff, then you can clearly see what kind of person James Corden is. I mean, if he was a woman, this is exactly the kind of attitude that would get him called a Karen. He's a nightmare customer who is fine with being demanding or unreasonable because he can rely on his privilege to get his own way. He was recently exposed by the owner of a high-end New York City restaurant called Balthazar, who made a viral Instagram post blasting Corden for his horrible behavior towards staff. He called him a tiny cretin of a man and the worst customer to his servers since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. He claimed in one instance, James demanded 2 free rounds of drinks for him and his friends after he presented a hair that was apparently found on his food, and said, "Get us another round of drinks this second, and also take care of all of our other drinks so far. This way I won't write any nasty reviews on Yelp or anything like that." On another occasion, he is said to have flipped out when an egg yolk omelette his wife had ordered was found to have a little egg white in it. He allegedly went ballistic and started tearing into the waiter, saying, "Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelette myself." According to the owner, Corden was so awful that he felt compelled to out him publicly and ban him from the restaurant, something that is very rarely done in high-end establishments. And let's not forget, back in 2019 when Corden wanted to surprise fans by making an appearance on Reddit's infamous Ask Me Anything thread to promote a special edition of his show. But the plan massively backfired when users started flooding the thread talking about the horrible experiences they've had meeting him in real life. In the end, he was only able to answer 3 questions before he dipped, probably because the truth was coming out about him and he was getting brutally roasted. One viral post said, "Hey James, you won't remember me, but me and my friends sat at a table next to you and Harry Styles, and some others in Manchurian Legends in London's Chinatown about 6 years ago. We didn't bother you, but you were a massively entitled C-word who yelled and treated the staff like crap. And when one of my party politely suggested that you calm down, you got really aggressive and threatening." There was also the allegation from comedian and podcaster Jack Allison, who claimed that Corden attended a Writers Guild Association meeting specifically to advocate for lowering the pay of his own late-night writers. Aside from the way that he treats others, many people are just plain sick of seeing him everywhere. Corden's acting career started out well enough, but things went downhill as soon as his fame grew. It's well known that he pretty much accepts any work offer that comes his way without much consideration, resulting in multiple flops. These included some really bad movies like Cinderella, Lesbian Vampire Slayers, and even the Emoji Movie. He also came under fire for exploiting gay stereotypes with his character in The Prom. But his most cringeworthy performance ever was in the movie Cats, which was not only a box office disaster, but featured CGI human cats which were literally sickening to look at. Then there's his so-called comedy. Fans remember when he completely bombed at an AIDS research benefit gig in LA in 2017. In an effort to appear edgy, he brought up the Weinstein scandal that had just came out that very same week. He said, "It has been weird this week, hasn't it? Watching Harvey in hot water. Ask any of the women who watched him take a bath." The backlash against him was huge, and rightfully so. If you're going to make offensive jokes, you have to at least be funny.
James Corden is coming under fire right now after some of his employees have alleged that the late-night host demanded a $5 million raise. The National Enquirer first reported on this rumor that James had wanted a huge pay increase but had no plans of sharing any of that wealth with his hardworking staff. An inside source alleged he's trying to get more money for himself but doing nothing to make the show a happier place to work. While James puts himself out there as Mr. Nice Guy on camera, he is rarely warm or even kind to his staff. And I mean, it looks like we may have another Ellen story on our hands. Staff members have also described Corden as being a true diva who loves to work. Another insider added, "People love working for Jimmy Kimmel, but it's a different story at Corden's show, where there always seems to be the threat that he's looking for something better. To say he isn't well liked is an understatement. He likes to pit his most talented people against each other. He seems to get a kick out of seeing people squirm." Now for starters, there are a lot of claims going on here from these insiders, if you will. As for the $5 million raise, there isn't much evidence to suggest that this is actually true. I mean, most salary negotiations are kept confidential, and even if it was leaked, you would expect to see some, larger media outlets covering this story first. However, all I could find right now were gossip blogs that clearly do not like James Corden to begin with, which makes it that much easier for them to talk trash about the late night host. That being said, this isn't the first time that a rumor has circulated accusing James of being either distant, cold, or aloof with his staff. But the truth of the matter is, most celebrities have this reputation. Rarely are celebrities the bubbly personality that we see them portraying on television or in movies. I also couldn't find much evidence of Corden's staffers actually complaining about him publicly. So again, these gossip blogs are perhaps just using the word insider as a way of getting their own opinions on James out there. You see, if you claim that it's from someone that has worked with him, that obviously would apply more legitimacy to the story. However, until more people speak about this publicly, I would take these stories with a grain of salt. Recently, James had to put the Late Late Show on pause after he posted to Instagram that he had contracted COVID-19. In a post, James writes, "I just tested positive for COVID-19. I'm fully vaccinated, boosted, and because of this, am fortunate enough to say I feel completely fine. The show will be off the air for the next few days. Stay safe, everyone. All my love, James." Now, admittedly, I am not a huge fan of James Corden, but when I found out that he got COVID, I didn't jump for joy. I was blown away by the number of people on Twitter that were actually happy to see James get sick with this. We should not be wishing illness on people. That is not the right energy to be entering into 2022 with. Like I always say, if you don't like someone, you don't have to watch their content. That's pretty much it. You can just move on to something else. I mean, to take it to that next step though of celebrating someone getting sick with COVID is really messed up.
Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about James Corden and how it seems that nobody really likes him very much. He's probably best known for constantly appearing in movies and musicals like the Emoji Movie, the Cats film adaptation, and the Cinderella remake, and usually playing a comedic relief character that most people view as a total flop or cringe. The Late Late host is stepping down from his show, and it seems that people in the UK are worried about the fact that he is going to be moving from the United States back to Europe. They are so worried about it, in fact, that one person created a petition in an attempt to ban him from returning to the country. Change.org is a website where anyone can make a petition about just about anything. Some notable weird petitions that have been made on the website are ban the word moist, change the name of fire ants to spicy boys, ask President Obama to build a Death Star, and merge North Dakota and South Dakota into a new state called Megakota. So yeah, there is a lot of unique and bizarre petitions on this site. The one we're talking about today is called James Corden to Stay in the US. The description of the petition reads as follows. 8 years ago, James Corden left the UK for the US to work on The Late Late Show. Since then, we've had to collectively deal with the impact of the Tory government, Brexit, and COVID-19, but throughout there was that slight beacon of hope, the absence of James Corden. Though I will note they included a harsh and vulgar description of James. Look up the petition for yourself if you're curious about their colorful wording. It continued, but now he's leaving the Late Late Show and is returning to our British pastures. So I beg you, if you do one thing today, please, I implore you to sign this petition. The main reason for exiling him was listed as there not being enough cringe in this small country for him to induce. An alternative option other than just keeping him in the United States is to send him to an isolated island in Scotland to live on his own. And it's not just the maker of the petition that feels this way, as people in the comments appear to be in support of the cause. One commenter said, "Come on folks, he's used the USA and now he wants to return here and get some prime TV slot telling us all how brave, ginge, and whinge we are. Well, I for one don't need that." And another added, "Of all the issues we've endured over the past years, this one hits home the most." This also isn't the first time that James Corden has been the center of a petition. Due to his frequent appearances in musicals, a petition was created to ban the host from appearing in the Wicked adaptation. How many people signed this petition, you might ask? It was over 100,000. Yeah, clearly Corden doesn't really have the greatest reputation these days. Commenters on that specific movement saying things like, "James Corden is the worst and ruins every movie musical he's in. I'm literally begging, don't let him anywhere near Wicked." And "He's awesome as a talk show host. He is funny when the occasion calls for it. But Corden just plays himself when it comes to acting. In fact, he has no acting skills whatsoever. He ruined the Cats movie, so please keep him away from Wicked." In my opinion, the Cats movie existing ruined the Cats movie, but the sentiment still stands. Another reason people might have for wanting to keep James Corden out of their country is due to an announcement he made a few months ago about the fact that he only washes his hair every 2 months. When people in Los Angeles were being asked to cut down the time of their showers due to a water shortage, Corden said, "I'm in and out in 3 or 4 minutes. I use soap, but I don't wash my hair. I wash it every 2 months. That is a true story. I do not think we are nasty." While it was recommended to take shorter showers, most people in the area still averaged around 10 minutes per shower. He said, "What are you doing for 10 minutes? How long does it take? I'm trying to think what I would do in there for 10 minutes. I don't know, James, maybe wash yourself?" He's not the only celebrity to ever admit to having less than average hygiene practices. Jake Gyllenhaal famously went viral for saying that he doesn't find bathing that important and finds himself doing it less and less. I guess when you're famous, you don't worry as much about how you smell. With 1 season left of The Late Late Show before James Corden steps down and returns to the UK with his family, it'll be a while before we see if anyone actually tries to stop him from getting in.